Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ladies in Law. We are so excited today because we have a special guest, Pat Montes. She is here to talk to us about the power of listening. Her background is incredible and she is inspiring to me, everything that she's accomplished. She's a trial lawyer, real trial lawyer. She is now doing trial consulting. She's been president of the Mexican American Bar Association. She's accomplished so many things, but one thing that I think is so powerful is that based on her experiences, she really teaches us as lawyers how to listen. And it's not about us, it's about our clients. So welcome, Pat. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk to you just about what I think is compelling about your story is how you're able to really get to a place with your clients to where they feel so comfortable that they can talk about what happened to them, the truth of what happened to them, so that the jury really understands what this is what the impact has been. What is it about kind of how you've come through life that enables you to get the best stories out of people?
Well, so first of all, I grew up in El Paso, Texas, and my first 10 years, I actually grew up in Juarez, Mexico, across the border. And so I come back to the United States. We were born here in El Paso, and came back. And so started learning English, actually. So just that in itself, it wasn't so much in El Paso, it's 70%, actually it's more now. Mm-hmm. Back then it was maybe 70% Hispanic people. So the language was not as difficult, but wanting to be like all the other kids, learning the language was important. But I did see a lot of the issues that my mother and my aunts would have because they didn't speak English. Mm-hmm. And so I took it upon myself to, be the interpreter here and there. And so
for your mom and your aunt? For
my mom and my aunts, my elderly aunts. And so, in when I was going to go to college, I wanted to be a therapist. Mm-hmm. And so, amongst other things that I wanted to be, one of the things that I really wanted to do was be a therapist.
Like a psychotherapist, somebody that talks to people.
Right, a psychotherapist, right. And so I became a social worker and worked at a cancer center and actually started the social service department there. They didn't even have a social service department, which social work is coming into people's difficult situations and finding the resources to connect those resources to people. And so something happened there at the cancer center that I thought, okay, I can't be here anymore. And I thought, I'm gonna go back to school. But instead of going back to school, I thought, I have been a voice for people, maybe law.
Wow.
And so I applied to law school and.
And you went to Texas Tech.
And I went to Texas Tech, go Raiders. Love my Texas Tech.
Her daughter went to Texas Tech.
My daughter graduated from there.
Yeah. Right. My granddaughter just graduated from Texas Tech. My other grandson is about to go into Texas Tech. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a strong family tradition there.
It's a family tradition. Yeah. We love Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So, what I do now started actually when I went to the Trial Lawyers College, Jerry Spence's Trial Lawyers College, back in 2002. And what I learned there was something very, that you wouldn't think was part of law, but I started training in psychodrama, which is really, it's really finding the truth in action. Mm-hmm. And so I trained in doing that, and really it was more for personal use. And so I started doing that throughout the years, and people started asking me to come in and help them with their clients who spoke only Spanish. Once you go to something like that, it was a very national group. There was 40 of us that Jerry picked to go that year. And so I had friends in Nebraska and Kansas, and then they had Spanish-speaking clients, so they would ask me to go in and help them to find their stories, because that's what you in the drama work that you do, you're finding people's stories. Mm-hmm. And so they asked me to do that, and then I just realized I can speak English too. And so, because the problem is not that you're not speaking the same language. We don't speak the language of our clients, mm-hmm. right? When we go to law school, is what I tell the clients, we go to law school and we do the very analytical, the black and mm-hmm. white. Well, your life is in color. It's not in black and white. And so that's something that we as lawyers are doing all the legal. In our case, I work with a lot of lawyers who have personal injury cases, right? Mm-hmm. So we know all the medical, but we don't really understand the client's story, and we don't understand that that's what a jury of 12 people, regular people, they want to learn the story. They want to know the credibility of the person, the character of the person. So what we're finding in finding these stories, we're finding the client's different little stories. We're finding the client's character. Mm-hmm. And that's what a jury really is looking for, right?
Well, Pat, okay, just listening to you as a child, interpreting, learning the language, then you're a social worker, you're at a camp. Like, to me, it sounds like stories come naturally for you. And then you were already in social work, you were already helping, mm-hmm. you were already telling stories. So when you were selected as one of 40, how did that transform your stories even further? Because I think we have a lot of friends and attorneys that listen, and they don't have your background with all that just innate ability that you have. So how did the training really transform the story? That
going to that was really transformative, because one of the things that you figure out there mm-hmm. is that you've got to learn who you are first.
That's right.
Oh. If you don't know who you are, then how can you even understand other people? There was a story there of and you actually do things in action, right? There was a story of, not a story, but somebody gets up and is practicing how to do a voir dire, right? Okay. Trying to pick your jury, mm-hmm. right? And so, and this person just wasn't connecting to the fake jurors that we had. The lawyers were jurors, right? And wasn't connecting. And so then, we go back and try to figure out, what is it about you as a person that's not connecting? Mm-hmm. And what came out of there is he realized, we had him talk to his client, and as he's talking, he's going like, what are you talking about? What, you don't know what pain is. Pain is, and he gave these, having your brother come back from Vietnam without legs, mm-hmm. these real painful things. And he's like, so what he realized is that he couldn't connect with the client's pain because of his own issues, mm-hmm. right? And so if we don't understand our own issues, we can't park that aside and say, okay, that's me, that's my issue, I'm open to you, mm-hmm. client, right? And so it was transformative. It made me see things differently. It also made me realize just a lot about myself. And, many of us are out there feeling like you're a fish out of water, which is one of the things that I told Jerry when I applied, that I felt like a fish out of water here in the Dallas area, mm-hmm. Hispanic woman doing trial work, right? Just didn't feel like I fit, right? So when I was there, it gave me a different kind of confidence in my own authentic self,
right?
Like, it's
Makes
okay.
Sense.
I'm not somebody who wears, the blue suits with the red little ties. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. To the point where I came back, I had a trial.
Right after you got back?
Right after I got back.
Wow.
I had a trial that I did with actually one of my mentors. and I sang a trial.
You sang.
Oh my goodness.
I sang a trial.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's
we
amazing.
won. It was a trucking case.
Okay.
We won. But yeah, so because it was about my client, and my client was a Spanish speaking man who was injured by an 18-wheeler, and so, and actually the song that I sang was I did it my way. I didn't sing the whole. I can't sing really, but what has a man?
Mm-hmm.
What has he got? If not himself, then he has not.
Mm-hmm.
To say the words he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. And it's still, I don't know. It
It's
was
moving.
It was,
It is very touching.
I got goosebumps.
and so I just went on with, my client's not going to kneel before this corporation. His lawyer's not going to kneel before this corporation. It was actually pretty easy because the way this big corporation had all these lawyers and were trying to,
Well, your point was
they were
easily
mean.
made.
It
Right
was
there.
it just fit, right?
Yes.
It just fit. And so in one of the things about my client, as I've had fact, his name is Blas. One of the things was what a proud man he was.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't speak English, but throughout his life, he was the leader. He was the formed person. He was because of the way he carried himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we have to learn about our clients. When it comes down to representing people who are not English speaking, a lot of the times when I come in to work with lawyers, the first thing they say is like, the clients are not going to be understood. The jurors are not going to understand them. That's because you don't understand them, right? When we do the work, a lot of the times they're like, oh my gosh, he's such a good father. They connect with being a father. They connect with, this is a thing that sometimes people don't understand, that these jurors, they want to hear a story. They want to connect with people's lives, with people's stories. They'll connect with that father,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'll connect with, as a matter of fact, in that case, we put on his son, who was maybe 16 years old, had been maybe 14 when it happened. And he talked about how he had to help his dad take off his boots at night because he couldn't. And it was just so moving, right? It's like, they're not going to say, oh, he's not speaking English. Actually, the young man did speak English, but they're not, that's getting deeper. That's getting into the who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what language you speak. The connections that we can connect to.
We're all the same.
They're all the same, right? We've got moms, we've got, brothers, we've got, we know what it's like to have to be the head of the family, even though you're not, right? Or all those stories, we have to find a commonality so that the lawyer connects with the client in a certain way or in any way, right? And so that they can really feel like they understand them and the client feels understood.
So along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you get the lawyers that you work with to understand the importance of listening, right? That importance of actually getting the whole story from the client? Because I think a lot of times, especially young lawyers, they just come up and they're, this is the way to do it. And it's kind of more about them and getting the evidence in and just,
Right.
we're doing it the black and white part. These are the things that we have to do. How do you explain to lawyers, like, the first step in really communicating and getting to a place where you can hear what the client's really saying?
Right. So I have created a method that I follow all the time. Of course, you don't follow methods exactly, right? But it's a method. I've actually registered it in the Library of Congress. So,
Nice.
yeah. So Pat Prep, Trial Team Prep LLC is my company, and so first of all, I tell the clients what we're doing today is we're getting your lawyer to do away with this yellow pad,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're going to be here together. we're not lawyers right now. We're going to learn of your story. We're going to discover your story.
I love that.
So so your question is, how do I get them there?
Right.
By getting them involved. And let's say the first question I ask is, what's the effect of this crash on your life? Right? So, and I remember a set of lawyers that I was working with out in Houston, the client said, it's been an inconvenience. I asked the husband, how has it affected her? It's been inconvenience. The lawyer's face just fell.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's not going to get you to move the needle
and
right
so,
now. Uh-uh.
And so that's how they, it tells the team that, they're stoic people. They're actually, we're engineers. Stoic people, they don't, they can't, that's how they speak, right? And so the lady had lost her eye.
Oh.
Right. So obviously, and it's like, were you injured? Yes. This is what happened to me. How did that affect your life? What has that done to you as a person? So to the point where, we got to dig in deeper, and she'll say, it's been devastated. It's ruined our lives, right? So as a group, because this is a group method, and as a group, I will ask at one point, at a certain point that I will ask, let's all find something in our own lives where we have felt like something got thrown into your life and you were devastated, and you felt like at that moment it ruined your life.
So you make them share. Everybody
exactly.
shares.
So everybody shares, because it's the process. The process is not telling the client what to say. Mm-hmm. Definitely not. Because as jurors and as anybody who's an audience, when people are not authentic. You just, come on, your lawyer told you to say that. Mm-hmm. It's excruciating. Yeah, your lawyer told you to say that, right? But it starts, if everyone in the group, if the client sees that everyone in the group has had a moment in their own lives or something got thrust into their lives, different situations, right? But they start seeing, wow, and they see, wow, my lawyer,
is opening up.
Being vulnerable.
It's happened.
Or fired.
Right.
If you did not share, I'm just kidding. But I'm just thinking, I would think that some attorneys, not knowing, like, I don't know if they know that that's going to be the program when they go in.
Yeah, do they know they're going to have to be vulnerable?
No.
They don't?
Oh my goodness, I would love to be a fly on the wall.
No. A lot of times, no, they don't. But a lot of times, hey, they keep coming back. Okay, so
yes,
they
works.
Understand. But the thing is this, it's like, because they'll tell the client, they'll tell you, oh, she'll make you cry. Well, the thing is this is the stuff you're walking around with, right? You just need to be asked that question. And one of the things that we do, we talked about listening. It's really listening without judgment. Mm. That's the difference, right? And so it makes us all become listeners without judgment. And as you're revealing something about yourself, which is really the crux of what I learned that many years ago, if you've got to disclose first before you want other people to disclose, mm-hmm. right? And I'll start. I'll talk about a moment in my life where it's been devastating, where something happened to me and it's been devastating. And so we all share. And so just in the sharing, then I'll ask the client, in the last 2 years, you probably have felt like people don't understand, people don't get it. I've never had anybody say yes. Mm-hmm. They say, they say yes. They really say no. They'll say, yeah, exactly. So what do? You don't talk about it. You bottle it up. You climb up. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, the lawyer wants for you to understand that this jury, something's happened to them. Maybe their parents got divorced. Maybe their puppy died. Maybe they lost their wedding band. Something happened to them. They can't understand what it feels like to be hit by an 18-wheeler. Mm-hmm. But they can understand what it feels like to be in your spot, to feel devastated, and so then, okay. Right, so it starts letting them
making sense,
making them realize that, okay, people are going to be open. Because I tell them, we're going to ask you to be open to the possibility that these jurors are going to be able to understand what it feels like to be in your spot, right? So that is really what gets that started, right? And so again, then I find them a safe place to testify too, because really this opens up a lot of people. And then I have to find them a place to, to testify to when you do your deposition. You're not walking into a deposition room. You're walking into grandma's house. Make sure you make yourself a cinnamon roll that morning and, bring a picture of grandma and, the person that's asking you a question. When you sit down, you're in a zone of feeling very safe and very loved and very confident in who you are. And that's how you're going to testify.
See, that's your social work.
That's your
Yeah.
deposition prep.
Mhm.
That sounds phenomenal.
In fact, I've never even heard that before.
Oh my
most
goodness!
of
Just
us are
thinking
telling
about
clients the opposite. Right?
thinking about the mindset, because it's such an intimidating setting, right?
It is.
Right. So they're not walking in. The lawyers that I work with, they've got their own safe place to testify.
Mhm.
We've got, they're not walking into court. They're walking into that day when they graduated, and their dad was there, and they hadn't seen him for a while or something,
Mhm.
And so then it's like, so you're testifying to the people, the jurors that you're going to talk to. They're all your family members. There's your grandma and there's your cousin and whatever, right?
I love that.
Or so everybody's got a safe place to be able to connect, right? And actually, at that moment, it's more of a confidence. So I'm always getting the jurors, the clients, to feel confident in who they are. There's a spot that we do in our training, in our process, where after a long while that we've been, it takes maybe 3, 4, 5 hours that we do this work. And so at one point, I'll ask everybody in the room, let's find some other words to describe our client, because not only do I start off this way with what's the effect of this on your life, right? Then I say, okay, we put it aside. Before this, right before October 7th of 2022, what were you like and what was your life like? Oh, I was happy-go-lucky. I was outgoing. I was the go-to person, right? And so then we leave it at that, because I'm going to come back after. I'm going to come back and I'm going to get the team to talk about what they see that this person was, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a stand-up man. He's, family-oriented. He's courageous. He's brave. He's, he was spontaneous. And the client is feeling not only understood, but they're like, yes, I was all that. There's a sense of empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we want the clients to come in with, a sense of empowerment, as to, yes, I was that.
Mm-hmm.
I live I don't call it a new normal, a new abnormal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have themselves forgotten what life was like. And we as lawyers, and I tell the clients, we're not walking in there with woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not who we are.
That doesn't work.
We're walking in there with showing this jury the life before. Because to me, if this is what my life was, why would I want to be over here?
Mm-hmm.
If I could snap out of it, why wouldn't I? Right? So we focus on the before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's easier for the clients to realize, okay, because they start talking about, I worked not too long ago with somebody who's 74 years old, and I was sailing. I was, you are sailing. You're 74 years old and you're sailing. Oh, we used to go from island to island, and it's like, wow, right? And it's always having the clients understand where the jurors are coming from. I'm always saying, well, if I'm 18 years old, I'm thinking, over 35, you're over the hill. when you're 50, you're sitting in your rocking chair, right? And the clients have to understand that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I felt, right?
Yes.
So yes, I'm going to have to bring it, right? a lot of times when we come to trial, when people are going to trial, then I'll prepare them I'll do trial preparation, which is different. Not different, yes. And so I'll have them become jurors. And as the juror, the client may say, I make them become the most conservative people that they know. And so as a juror, the client will say, they'll say, I'm my grandma, and I worked in the jail, and I was tough and strong, and okay, that's conservative self, right? And so then I'll ask them what they want for these jurors, for these lawyers to bring you. What kind of proof do you need? Well, I need this, I need that, I need to hear the person. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna believe that person, Grandma? I don't think so. And it's like, this is the same person that said, well, I don't want to bother my sister, she works. I don't want. It's like, hello, you got to understand what these jurors are needing, mm-hmm. right? Your grandma, let's say your uncle, and you're working construction work. You're going to be out of work for 5 days. How are you feeling about that? What? Are they going to pay me? No, they're not going to pay you. Well, they'll pay you $6 the first day and $40 the days after. So don't worry about it. So they're like, because that's in Dallas County, that's kind of what they do, right? So they start realizing, okay, these jurors, they want to do the right thing, but they want to have that time that they have to give, right?
They want to feel good about.
They want to feel like it's a worthy cause, right? And it's like, okay, you don't want to bother your sister, but it's okay that these people are being taken from their lives to come listen to your story, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So they start realizing, okay, I got to bring it, right? People will tell you, well, I don't know, I've lost my phone, I can't find pictures. Well, afterwards they're like, okay, I'm gonna ask my cousin, I'm gonna, to bring it, right?
So tell us though how you got to this point to how did you decide that you wanted to create this method? What was it that made you feel like this is something completely lacking in how lawyers are preparing their clients for depositions and for trials? What was it? What experience did you have that made you feel like this is something that we really need to change so that people can tell their stories?
Well, I guess, so I was a trial lawyer for quite a long time. Even, with board certification and all that stuff, you really, you can go to trial, and many of us know that. We go to trial, and it's a very worthy case, and we lose it, right? Why? And we always blame the jury. Oh, they just didn't understand. Well, maybe we didn't help them get this client to really voice their truth, right? And so we need to, so what we're doing is we're stepping into the client's shoes to learn their story. And so your question is, how did I get there? Mm-hmm. Again, I just because I was helping other lawyers that were asking me to come in and help, but I started realizing, when we do something like this, afterwards, the clients will say, God, I felt heard.
Heard, yes.
I felt like something got off my chest. I feel like I went through therapy because they felt heard, right? And my question is always, do you think your lawyer understands you better? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you think you understand yourself better? Oh, yeah. I can't. And what I do is I write it. I use Post-it, those big Post-it notes, and they see it on the board, and I use colors, and they see it on the board, and they're like, wow, I didn't realize that it was so bad, right? Because they're so stuck, right? They know they're stuck. I started hearing from them, I feel lighter. I feel again, like I got heard. And it started making me realize, this is needed, right? This is something that people, this is a worthy cause. It's important for these people, and you represent clients who, who are sometimes elderly, sometimes, they're in nursing homes. So something is happening where they don't have a voice, right?
Right.
But the first thing we think about is these jurors are not going to understand, and a lot of times they don't, what it's like, right? Now, this man that I talked to you about just a little bit ago, who's 74 years old, he's living a fruitful life, right? People, even if they're not. All right, so my mother just passed away last year.
Mm-hmm.
She was 94. She was fun and just a little bit before it happened. She was fun and funny and still wanted to go out there, and she had she had a green thumb and wanting to move the furniture, and she had a lot of life in her. And if I represented her if she got hurt,
yeah,
what would people say? What would I think that people are gonna not understand is, well, she's 94. What's the big deal?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal.
It is.
It is a big deal. It is. There's so much that we don't understand about that life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it happens with so many of the clients that we work with, and it starts with we don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Because we don't live that life.
because we don't live that life, and but if they come to us, if they trust us for us to represent them,
Right.
it's not just in the law, it's just not in the legal, it's in the
person.
it's in the person,
It's the person.
right? Because it's people, regular people that are going to judge, really. And so I always tell the clients that we're going to prepare them for trial.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have to go to trial, but we want to make sure that the other side understands that you're ready to go the distance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm always bringing in that jury. It's like, okay, wait a minute, really? Inconvenience? Like, I'm sitting here for 5 days. You don't think I'm inconvenienced,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's like, okay, I get it, right? But it has to come through them. They have to be empowered to tell their truth. And I think that this is what this does. It empowers them to tell their truth and empowers the lawyer to learn the clients. One of the lawyers that I just work with, it was a wrongful death case. He's out of West Texas, and he said, you help them, you help us find their soul.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's real.
And because it's real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's really just it's really not me. It's really the group. It's really all of us collectively opening up to them, so they tell their story. And then from then, when we work, the lawyer can do an opening statement. They can do a direct. It's interesting because they don't need the notes,
Mm-hmm.
because they
Because
step
they
into
know.
the story.
Because they know it.
Yeah.
Oh my
It
gosh,
is really
it's-
interesting.
I just feel like we have barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many questions that I have, and we haven't even went through.
Mhm.
Like, Pat, we have to have you come back for a part 2.
Will
Just
you come back for
Talking
part 2?
about, it is. It's like been very interesting and
Yeah.
informative, and just barely tapped the surface.
Mhm.
I have all these questions about the attorneys that you worked with in the past, the
Lots of
older
them.
ones versus the younger one. There's just so much to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought the older ones may not want to change their ways.
Yeah, be so giving of all that information.
right, or change their ways,
Or open,
right?
open,
Yes.
be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because once they're in the setting, you're not thinking about I don't want to share. Maybe a few, but not really. It's like they know that there's something lacking.
Right.
And I think I do get hired to work with a lot of catastrophically injured people. But then there's a law firm that hires me for most of their cases that are going to go to depot, because it changes. I mean, the other side understands that this person is going to make a good witness.
Mm-hmm.
This person is, it's like, we better take this seriously.
Yeah.
Because they can talk about details and examples and instances, which is what the other side is afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
That the realness comes out. Most of the cases, as you all know, we're not going on a depot till 2 years and even longer later. Yeah, of course the client has forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do something like this, then they step back into their own lives and they can give details. It's the difference between, I was driving down the road as opposed to, I had the windows down. I could smell the fumes of the other cars. It was bright and all of a sudden, and, talking about what happened to their body and what they heard and so it's quite the difference. And so it's taken differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling the story. And this is really what we've, grandmas used to know how to do. We don't know how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I think just that connection, maybe we've lost so much through just being separated and communicating in social media. And, you're just not sitting across from somebody and actually listening to them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Pat, for being on.
Yeah.
We want to hear more. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, you can contact me through my email or through my phone, my cell number.
All right.
I better not say my phone number.
Tell us your email.
Salero. It's Pat Montes, PATMONTES at monteslaw.com.
All right.
And so, so I do want to say one of the words that you said, which is one of the words that I always tell the clients, we need to learn how to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So connect is really what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
and we're connecting here today. Thanks for
Yes,
connecting
we
with
are.
us.
Thank
So
you.
happy to have
All right.
you.
All right.
I learned a lot.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions for Pat or follow-up insights or anything, please email us at hello@ladiesinlaw.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.